Okay, so today we're going to be looking at non-renewable energy. So there's a question that I have. It says, which energy form uses uranium or plutonium to create energy? Think about it, pause, and then you get your answer. The options are nuclear power, hydroelectric power, solar power. That's if you needed a prompt. And of course, at this point, you can pause and then decide which one it is. And of course, it is nuclear power. Non-renewable resources are resources that cannot be replaced in a short period of time. Coal, oil, and natural gas are three fossil fuels that will one day run out. They are formed from the remains of dead organisms over millions of years. Now, let's look at the pie chart to the left. Why do you think we use fossil fuels as our main source of energy? You can think about it, discuss this, and write your answer on your whiteboard and then get back to it. Now, the reality is fossil fuels are used as our main source of energy as they provide a large amount of energy at low cost. Now, is our over reliance on fossil fuels a good thing or a bad thing? And why? Pause, think about it, and then proceed. Well, the over reliance is a bad thing because if the fossil fuels were to run out, then we would be unable to meet our energy needs. We start off with the material coming to the factory and it is burnt. This now boils some water. The water that is boiled produces steam. The steam turns a turbine, which generates electricity in the generator, and then that is then sent out to be used. The steam that is used to spin the turbine is collected and cooled, and the process starts again. Pretty straightforward. Now, if we were to put the following steps in order using your diagram as a guide, you can go back and look at the diagram and then you can put them in order. Now, of course, the first one is the coal arrives by truck or train. Secondly, the coal is burned in the furnace, followed by the water is turned into steam in the boiler, where the steam passes through and turns a turbine. The turbine turns the generator, which generates electricity, and finally, the steam is turned back into water in the cooling tower. Now, this is just a follow on from what was done earlier with everything in the correct order. Okay, so you can always test yourself by pausing the video, going back, and doing the work. And of course, this is the diagram that was shown earlier with all the parts clear. Now, the coal contains chemical energy, and when it boils the water, it transfers thermal energy. And then, of course, when the turbine and the generator are moved by the force of the steam, this is kinetic energy. So we have energy transfer taking place within our power stations. Now, on your mini whiteboards, you can write down your keyword and for the question and pause, then you will know what the answer is after and you can compare yours. This is burned in a power station to turn water into steam. Pause, write your answer, then check. Of course, it's fossil fuel, example coal. Second question, this converts kinetic energy into electricity in a power station. Pause and write your answer on your whiteboard. A generator. And we'll proceed the same. This is where steam is turned back into water by cooling. Pause. So the cooling. This object is turned by steam passing through it. Pause. Turbine. Now, of course, with fuel comes some positives and negatives. And here we have some pictures. You should be able to come up with a list of positives and negatives for using fossil fuels using these pictures. So pause the video and then get back to it and see if you can, if your answers compared to these given. So, positives. Produces a lot of energy per kilogram that is burned. And another thing is easy to obtain at a low cost. However, negatives are they are non-renewable, so will eventually run out over time. And of course, burning fossil fuels releases sulfur dioxide, which causes acid rain, and carbon dioxide, which contribute greatly to global warming. Now, another source of non-renewable power is the nuclear power. And of course, in the nuclear power station, uranium or plutonium rods are packed into a reactor. The nuclei of the atoms within the rod split in two, releasing energy in the process. The energy released in this process turns water into steam, which turns a turbine, as in a coal power station. So the only difference in the nuclear power station is the fuel that they use, and of course, the containment that is necessary because of the nuclear materials that's being produced. And of course, this can lead to mutation and other ill effects on the environment. Nuclear radiation is very dangerous. Now we're going to compare both the nuclear power station and the fossil fuel station in terms of fuel, energy release per kilogram of fuel, the waste, and of course if the greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide are released. So we start off with the nuclear power station. The fuel is uranium or plutonium, and for fossil fuel is coal, oil, or natural gas. The energy release is 300,000 megajoules for the nuclear power station compared to 30 megajoules for the fossil fuel. Nuclear power station generally releases radioactive waste. They need storing for years, and of course, fossil fuels does not produce radioactive waste. No greenhouse gases are produced by the nuclear power station. However, there are greenhouse gases released by the fossil fuel power station, such as carbon dioxide and water. Now, when we think about startup times, this is the time taken to set up and start running a power station, and it is called the startup time. Now, if we were to order these entities in terms of startup, we'll notice that for shortest is natural gas, followed by oil, coal, and then nuclear, which takes the longest to start up. And we can know why, because it's quite expensive and more dangerous. So it needs a lot of planning and execution for it to be safe for the environment. Now, what does a finite resource mean? That there's a limited supply. Which of these is a renewable source of energy? None of the above. What is an advantage of using fossil fuels? They generate large amounts of electricity relatively cheap. What is the disadvantage of using fossil fuels? They release carbon dioxide when burned. Which energy form uses uranium or plutonium to create energy? And again, to the third time, so of course, you must know it's nuclear power.